My name is Super2, the owner of the Stronghold Kingdom Super2 2021 Kingmaker server page on Facebook. This is where you can go to join my alliance on the Kingmaker, join our page. This is the beginning of 2021 when it's created, and the updates of the ongoing alliance will be on here. Just press to follow, like, and message for information. If you want to get started right into the game, know where we are currently. In the beginning of 2021, we're in Constantinople and around Osman, the southern part of this sea right here. You can see we already have alliances going around, and we're going to be talking today about the best way to start your village to get to level 12. The important thing about level 12 is at level 12 you are able to buy a second village. So you need a lot of honor and a lot of gold. And what paths do we take to get to that level 12 and 10,000 to 20,000 gold that we will need to purchase some land? Like the closer it is, it's cheaper. There you go, 10,000 to found this one. So minimum 10,000, need level 12. Here we can see we are level 8 on this one. I created 6 different villages to test which production setting is best. And the most important thing that's going to dictate how well you progress is your research points and what you research. Industry, military, farming, education. On top of that, your placement. But obviously you're going to place the food by the granary, your stockpile by your main resource income. And this village is focused on wood income and has a staggering 23,000 wood income per day, while the food is over 80,000, and then stone is at 4,000, which 4,000 is pretty. It's really hard to collect stone, and unless you move the stockpile right next to the stone, stone income is going to always be between 4 and 8,000, maybe 10,000, 11,000 if you put this here and really specialize in stone. But getting lots of wood allows you to produce lots of stone quarries, because all stone quarries cost is wood. And you're going to have to expand your stone quarries to build your woodcutters. So focusing wood over stone is more important. But even more importantly than focusing wood is food. Food comes first, wood second, stone third, in my opinion. Although stone will become very important when you're building your defenses, but when you're at pre-12, stone walls, stone keeps, and stuff like that look nice, but don't really do well in booming your economy, which in turn will get you more military and more stone down the road to build stronger defenses. So the idea in these real-time strategy games is you want to boom, the stronger your economy is, the faster it grows, the more military you can afford. You try doing it backwards, where you go defenses first, military first, you're going to get the defenses and military faster, but they're going to grow at such a slower pace that in the long run, you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot because you're not growing as exponentially as you should be. So that's why the goal is to get to level 12, make 10,000 gold, and buy a second village so we can expand our economy and thus expand our defenses and finally expand our military. But actually expand military before defenses, how I play. So, and also when AI attacks you, they don't really ransack your villages, and humans are a little reluctant to start wars with random people across the lands because that rivalry is going to go on for quite some time unless they kill you. So in the diplomacy game, normally the attacker gets attacked by many alliances because they're the aggravator. If you want to be the aggravator, you definitely want to be a dominant economic position. So you definitely have to get the economic position first. But more importantly, it's just the idea of why, or the path to 12 and so on. Now let's get into the details of research points and what research points do we get into. There's stone quarry investment, forestry investment, and fletching investment to get your military army size up, make longbows, and then you also have scouts. We're also going to be looking at orchard management, dairy farm, plow, and then hops farming. And then finally, we're going to look at research time, the merchant skill to trade with other villages, engineering to increase stockpile size, and then arts to increase the multiplier of your honor that is earned. And then the honor is a little bit confusing, and that's just this multiplier right here. So the bigger this multiplier, on top of the 58 that I got from 33 from rations, the 1 from the AL, and then the 5 for no tax to multiply by 12 gives us an honor per day. So this is just this village. The nice thing about this village is it's a great balance of how the resources should be set up, but it's not the best way to grow. Two things that this village does very well at is it focuses on the orchards to boom, which gives a very outstandingly high food production rate, which allows us to get 80 villagers, which in turn will give us more people to tax. So we can get 50 gold per person with no honor change. And we can actually jump it up quite a bit to 4,400 gold per day. And with this rate, we can get a village affordance in 2 to 3 days on top of the 3,100 gold we already own. And additionally, another good thing is the stockpile placement on the farm. So the wood, you can expand your wood production all the way along the trees and all the way over here. So ideally you want the stockpile to be in the middle. The more this goes over here, the more efficient these wood ones are going to be. And so anywhere in the middle, it doesn't really matter. Even over here, it doesn't really matter. But um, when the stockpile's right up on the wood, it's like exponentially faster than if it's far away. Like this one has the 303 per day, and this building has a 2500 per day. Um, I mean, this would probably be not as high if I didn't invest into um, the industry of forestry, increasing it by 150%. But it is much. These would be. I would get. This would be much higher if I move this over here. You can play around with it and moving, but the drop off. We can use this for example. Like this here is 12, and over here it'll be like 6 and 2 extra housing space. These are houses. So the closer it is to the buildings, it exponentially gets more productive when it's near the building it needs to be. The same thing with the Fletchers. The Fletchers use the wood from the stockpile, so they wants to be close. If this was a Fletcher, a bow making civilization, we may want this out here so we can surround the stockpile with a bunch of archer makers. But you need like a stockpile of like 30,000 to make your 6 Fletcher, anyways. So getting 5 Fletchers is quite the task, anyways, and you can fix 5 Fletchers around here. So this wood position, I think, is really strong, and this food position is really strong, is my point. And you should focus, you should probably repeat this wood setup and not move the stockpile over here or over here. I think over here is best. You could do it in the middle, but your early game wood production is going to be slow. Even so, no matter where this is, unless you're like down over here, anywhere in between all these woodcutter areas, is going to give you the overall end game same wood production rate. But like I said, if it's over here, you're going to have longer early game or slower early game wood production, and this placement in between only really matters when you literally are using every single spot possible of wood production, which takes quite a bit of time to get to. So again, this is the way to go. Now we're going to look at the builds of 6 different civilizations on top of this one, but I just wanted to get you guys a visualization of a good map setup, and have my markets up here, 5 merchants each, so I can send out 10 trade cards to do some trading with other villages. So I got a nice Excel sheet of the 6 villages that pretty much span 7 to 10 days each. And we see levels at 8, 9, 10, and 11. The currently one we're viewing is this village right here. This village is this village. So looking at these stats, it has the best wood production, the best food production, and the most population. But certainly isn't the highest level. So even so, it's got great food production, which is very important, great wood production, which is very important, and a lot of population, so you can get a lot of tax. This is not necessarily the best path, although the layout of this civilization is the best, which is why I'm using it as a base platform. So let's get an overview of what is best. So let's just look right into the research list, because that's the whole point of this video, is to get an idea of the research order that we should consider. And the research order we should consider is as following. We should maximize orchard production first, followed by the speed of horsemen. We want to maximize our speed of a horseman second. Although we got to get 1 scout, so put 1 point in scout to get a scout to increase the speed of that scout, we're going to want to max the speed first. And then we're also going to want to secondarily increase the number of scouts we got, followed by the capacity of the scout. Now, okay, this is the order that we build the scouts. First, we got to put 1 point into scouts, so we get the scouts, so we can have something to increase the scout speed. And then, once we maximize our speed, we want to get a second scout. And then after we get a second scout, we want to increase the capacity of the scouts to maximize. So actually, it's like this, 4, 3, I made an error. You want to increase the capacity after increasing the speed, but you want 2 scouts before you start maximizing these 2. And then after you get your maximization of your scout military output, you are going to want to focus on your honor multiplier, and just gain arts, because it's going to get you more honor over time, which is going to level up you faster. If you look at the number 10 here, it's got a lot of gold. It's got a pretty good honor multiplier. Not as good as 9. But what does 9 have? 9 has decorations and surplus gold. And yeah. So arts is a great 5th one. It's kind of hard to see why it's like this early, just glancing at it. But it has something to do with these honor points. And maybe they're the same population, so population doesn't have anything to do with it. But arts, regardless, is how you get higher honor per day, very, very drastically, on top of the scout production. So we look at the best village, and we look at the arts. It has a level 2 arts, while this is level 6 and a level 5. But you can obviously see the honor point per day potential is a lot lower than these 2 villages. Although, why is this much higher? It gets exponentially harder to level up and takes exponentially more honor to level up. So this is pretty far ahead than all these 2 other villages. And the reason why this village is so far ahead is because the scouts. If we look at these 9 and 10, we can see that the scouts army in these villages are lacking. And even so, this is 5 scouts and a bunch of scout capacity is lacking that speed. This one does have speed, but it's so slow that it's kind of insignificant in these ones. These all villages have a poor scout army except for the one that's doing best, and that's how we are prioritizing this order list by looking at these relativity of these villages. So going past the honor, then we're going to want to start getting engineering because you want capacity. If you start, you check this tend to be one time a day. So if you can go through a day and hit max capacity, that's when you want to start upping this. And then after you start hitting max capacity, you're going to start getting your fletching. And then fletching gets your bowmen, and then you get your archers, and you start your initial military for defensing. And after you get an army over 100, which none of these villages are really at yet, you can start taking down AI castles, and then down the road, once you get your multiple villages, start attacking other human villages. So saying simply again, the order of production you want to do is orchard, followed by your scout military army, increasing arts multiplier, and then into engineering storage capacity, into fletching, and then finally the plow. Now the plow is so good because it gives, after 8 points into plow, it gives 50% apple production on top of that 400 production initially. So it's quite powerful when you go the orchard start. So you get a very strong economy start, and then you get a very strong plow economy later on, and that will get you to that 80,000, that top tier food production. So if we look at the overall of all the cities, what's making these fail? Well, we can look at let's just look at the initial error points that these villages have invested into. This one invested into village, and this village invested into stone quarry, and stone quarry isn't all that important because you can get a very mass initial stone production by having a lot of wood. So having a large wood will in turn produce a large quarry output. So look at this. This one has a very high investment in stone quarry production, but it's not really all that much better than any of these ones that didn't produce in stone quarry. And the wood production is massively better, and the wood production is, in turn, gives you better stone quarry production. So wood is a much better choice to invest in before stone. Additionally, we also have this village over here, which is the bottom tier, maxing out in stone production with no food production. And it's doing quite poor, just like these two. These both are doing poor. It's got a very low gold honor point rate, which these point rates turn to make a surplus gold, or it creates honor to level up. We can see the low gold honor points, which are these right here, these points, pretty much reduces your capability of maximizing your gold income or maximizing your honor production. So this one hasn't the best honor production, and that is why it's here, because it doesn't have an honor production focus. And that's what you want to get to level 12, an honor and gold production focus. And we haven't really gotten into why the scouts are the best yet, but if you're watching to this point of the video, you're going to quickly understand why scouts are the best. Now, if we go to the map, and let's see if we have an example here. So in this red zone, if a resource stash appears and you are the first one to get to it right here, you're the first one to get to it, no honor will be received, the stash is out of range. So this one's out of range. If I would have a very fast scout, I would have a high probability of getting this. If it was in my range, I would get 500 honor. 500 honor just for uncovering this. And sometimes there's going to be 3 that appear throughout your area at one time. And you can get 4, 5, 6 of these, 7 of these in a day, just periodically checking these. And this one takes 30 minutes to get here. If you had the speed of the scout, that would take 10 minutes, and it'll be back in 20 minutes, and you can start looking for other resources. So that is why it's so important. So here we can do an example of upgrading. Here I had to go do fit 2. I had to go through this one and this one. So I had to pay 1,500 honor twice to get out of 8. And now we upgrade to level 9. And we go to here, and now this becomes 9. And now it is caught up to here. And the next one we gotta do 2,500 3 times. The one after that is 3,500 3 times, and after that it's 5,000 3 times. So it's gained, actually it's 5,000 5 times. So 25,000 honor to get to 12. 7,500 to get to 10. And then 11,500 to get to 11. So it takes quite a bit of honor to get this high, and that's why, even so it's only one level apart, the honor gaps are huge. So this village has been able to find lots of resource stashes, which in turn gets you a lot of honor and levels you up quickly. Even so, the honor points, actually in this one, the honor points, and in the honor points are high, but the multiplier is low. So if this just had a better multiplier, so um, instead of 12 times 66, 792, it could be 66 times 30. And just to emphasize the strength of arts, let's assume this had a 6 instead of a 12. And if this was if this was instead of 12 a 30 multiplier instead of a 12 multiplier because it has 6 points in arts instead of 2 points, let's see how it would change everything. So all of a sudden, this is competing with the other ones. And this higher honor is going to let you put a higher tax rate a higher tax rate, and also or a higher honor rate, which is going to level up you faster over time. This is why this village is probably lacking in gold, while these two are flourishing in gold because they're able to produce the gold in a steady state. The reason why, again, I want to reiterate, this village has done so well in leveling up is just because of the scouts collecting honor. If this village had proper scout production and less in mathematics and dairy farming, which were two errors, this village very well would be the highest. And I just want to point out, this is the youngest village out of every single village here. So the village order that these were created, all within 1 to 3 time frame, are as followed. This was the first one to be created. Here, center it all. Let's actually do a 15. So, and then, yeah, center it all. So this was the first one to be created. And then this one was the second to be created, this one was third to be created, and this one were fifth, and this one was sixth created. Order created. So we can look, in a shorter time, it has done better than the best one. And even so, the best one had a very good focus. This focus is much better. It didn't waste points in dairy farming, and it didn't waste points in mathematics. You do need 2 mathematic points to get into merchants, but you don't really need to get the merchants. And the time, the bottleneck, the slowest step isn't the research time, it's you clicking it, and there's only so many clicks you can do because you only have so many research points. So the research time isn't as impactful to reduce this early. It might be more impactful later on, which is why I had the initial idea to invest in this, but it's going to be much more important when, say, a building takes 7 days to build and I just cut that off into 3.5 days. But when something takes 3 hours to build and I cut it down to an hour and a half, that's not as impactful this early on in the evolution of these villages. So that was an error as long as dairy farming. The dairy farming is an error because orchard is more optimal on top of the plow. Also, dairy farmers are a lot more expensive to build. Every time you build an additional building, the second building of that kind gets more expensive. And the dairy farmers get a lot more expensive than the orchard farming. And again, you can get the plow on top of the orchard. Now, you do get more honor points. Like this could be, well, for one, there's a surplus. This isn't creating a surplus. It's draining all the possible food. This would be 40 if it was creating a surplus. But it could be 46 if I had 2 types of food. So there's a bunch of different types of food, and then it'll be 52 if you had 3 types of food. So balancing your economy will give you an extra 6 points in your max rations or quads, and then that extra 6 points will be multiplied by the multiplier. But balancing of your resources can be done through trade later on, and when you have maybe a 3rd or 4th village, that's when you're going to want to start maybe doing half dairy farm, half orchards, some bakeries, and then some fishermen or something to maximize. Instead of that being 40, it would be 58, so increasing your honor and gold potential production. But in the early games for your first village, you should just do orchard, and then after you max that out, start maximizing plow to increase your production. You only need to increase your food production so that you have a surplus relative to how much you eat. So the reason why, even so, we're producing 80,000, like, we look at this. I'm producing 85,000 food a day. And it's all being eaten, and that's because we have 80 population. So, but the nice thing about having more population is you have more people to tax, and we get this fantastic 4,400 gold per day at an equilibrium. These are random events, so castle's not enclosed, so I can actually make this better by having my castle enclosed and heat wave. So let's just do our castle enclosing. We need a gate, that's the problem. Let's just enclose our castle. Oh, it's enclosed. And the honor will go up a little bit more, and we can actually tax even harder, but we need something to get that 6 up because we're going to start losing people. I mean, which is fine, we could lose 41 people, and as we lose people, this will go up, and eventually it's going to balance out. But we could even push even higher, but we're going to lose people every 44 minutes. It's going to lower that tax rate per person, but eventually it's going to balance out as this goes up. But we'll lose quite a bit of people before the benefit of having not a crowded housing space would make them happy enough to stop leaving. While 6 at like 80% housing, so we'll lose 20 people, will balance out this economy. But we want to keep our people anyways, so that's what I would do there. And if you had a surplus, I would just Like, say I was gonna run out of food, I would just lower this to a point that I'm not running out of food, like right here, and then I would balance it out so that um I make sure I don't lose people. So here, I'm actually growing my food stocks. My people aren't starving. So I mean, like if this was like it was 36, yeah, see 33. So it literally when you're at 0, you can't get the maximum because it's taking a lower rate. The people I take is actually 72,000, but um, I can push a little bit harder, 8 iron harder, but it's only 33. It's not 40. And if I had like 5,000 food here, this would stay at 40, and I would eventually lose 7. And if I didn't know that, I would just drop it down and make sure this is positive with this drop down rate. But I know what the equilibrium rate is. It's 33, and so I can see it's balanced. Just a little bit of balancing tips there. But that's the scheme of pretty much how you create your first village and to really get your second village out in a very productive manner. Orchards, the scouts, to honor, into storage capacity, into fletching for your bows, and finally you start pushing plow. You push your population up, your food production up, your gold income up, and your honor income higher. You can't really push your honor income higher with higher population, but you can push your gold rate higher with honor population. You need the arts and so on. I also want to point out that these also have decorations, which you can make 3 flower beds, get another 6 points in decorations, which are not really all that impactful. So decorators, this will be a 6, so that'll be 18, 18 times 12. It's really not that much of a growth. It's better just to put the points into arts because decorative takes a lot of resources and actually a lot of gold. So if you do have a surplus of gold, like this village would have, I could probably invest into decorative to help get it to level 12. But decorations, I think, are a little too early to invest in. It's just better to invest in the arts. Is there anything else I could really say about these villages? We could look at the trees. So when you're in the second buy point, I got 3 points right here. This village. Um, this village has max orchard management, max plow, like we looked at, some owl, hops farming, but I don't think it even actually utilizes the hops. Oh yeah, it does have a hops. Military, it's on a mission to grow a military, which is why it's focusing. Um, it hasn't really invested in here, and I don't think I'm going to invest in here. If you're going to invest in this, you have to play the game a lot more frequently, and that's the trade effect. The thing you gotta keep in mind if you go this route is that you gotta check the game a lot more than you normally have to. While these 2 paths over here are more of a grow over time path, while this is I'm gonna play the game and push my potential to the max as quickly as possible. If you like this video, hit the like, subscribe, come join my page, Stronghold Kingdom Super Henry 221. I'm also a Facebook streamer on my main page, Super Henry 2. Come drop a follow and a like over here, and I will catch you guys next time. Thank you for watching.